Alawapad, dear friends. Welcome to the Sunday morning devotional program, sponsored by the Spiritual Assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb and Sandy Springs, Georgia. It's wonderful to have all of you with us today. Across the globe, the teachings of the Baha'i faith, brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder, whose name in Arabic means the glory of God, have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential human themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity, and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, a gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities, which allow us to reflect the image God made us in, the integration of worship and service, with work performed in the spirit of service being accounted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes, more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, and the dynamics of the relationships that bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Again, welcome. We're pleased to have you all join us. We'll begin with opening devotions. Please mute yourself if you are not speaking, and silence your electronic devices if you are speaking. Thank you. Kathy?
O Lord, enable all the peoples of the earth to gain admittance into the paradise of thy faith, so that no created being may remain beyond the bounds of thy good pleasure. From time immemorial, thou hast been potent to do what pleaseth thee and transcend above whatsoever thou desirest. The Bab.
Elizabeth?
Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Say, praise be God, he is God. All are his servants, and all abide by his bidding. The Bab.
Bibi?
Glory be to thee, O Lord my God. Make manifest the rivers of thy sovereign might, that the waters of thy unity may flow through the inmost realities of all things, in such wise that the banner of thine unfailing guidance may be raised aloft in the kingdom of thy command, and the stars of thy divine splendor may shine brightly in the heaven of thy majesty. Potenter thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou verily art the help in peril, the self-subsisting. Baha'u'llah.
Dungting?
O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Baha'u'llah.
Matthew?
O thou kind Lord, bestow heavenly confirmation upon this daughter of the kingdom, and graciously aid her that she may remain firm and steadfast in thy cause, and that she may, even as a nightingale of the rose garden of mysteries, warble melodies in the Apa kingdom in the most wondrous tones, thereby bringing happiness to everyone. Make her exalted among the daughters of the kingdom and enable her to attain life eternal. Thou art the bestower, the all-loving. Abdul Baha.
Masud.
I am the sun of wisdom and the ocean of knowledge. I cheer the faint and revive the dead. I am the guiding light that illumineth the way. I am the royal falcon on the arm of the Almighty. I unfold the drooping wings of every broken bird and started on its flight. Baha'u'llah.
Unless capacity is developed, the summons of the kingdom cannot reach the ear. The light of the sun of truth will not be observed, and the fragrances of the rose garden of inner significance will be lost. Let us endeavor to attain capacity, susceptibility, and worthiness, that we may hear the call of the glad tidings of the kingdom, become revivified by the breaths of the Holy Spirit, hoist the standard of the oneness of humanity, establish human brotherhood, and under the protection of divine grace, attain the everlasting and eternal life. Bibi.
The Blessed Perfection bore all these ordeals and calamities in order that our hearts might become enkindled and radiant, our spirits be glorified, our faults become virtues, our ignorance transformed into knowledge, in order that we might attain the real fruits of humanity and acquire heavenly graces. Although pilgrims upon earth, we shall travel the road of the heavenly kingdom. Although needy and poor, we might receive the treasures of life eternal. For this has he borne these difficulties and sorrows. Abdul Baha.
Matthew.
Let them never forget the imperative to tend to the needs of the children of the world and offer them lessons that develop their spiritual faculties and lay the foundations of a noble and upright character. The Universal House of Justice.
Thank you to all of today's readers. Next, we're going to listen to a healing prayer. If any of you wish to remember a loved one through this prayer for healing, please feel free to call out their name at this time.
Jonathan Bowers,
The Columbus Baha'i Community.
Josie Reynolds.
Robin Denny.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion.
now we're blessed to have a musical offering.
Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glories, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, an atom into lights and suns. Oh, my Lord, help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, an atom into lights and suns, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, an atom into lights and suns. Oh, my Lord, help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation. Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious, thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmation.
Friends, each week we're blessed to have a guest presenter share with us their insights on a particular topic. This week, we're honored to have with us Masood Olufani. Masood is a multidisciplinary artist and is currently an artist in residence at Emory University. He is a much anticipated speaker, and so it's my pleasure to welcome him and hand it over to him to talk. Masood?
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. We're having internet challenges where I live. So I'm at one hand trying to juggle going in and out with the internet service via my computer and then also on my cell phone. So I got you guys in two spaces. So if one fails, we've got a backup here.
Great.
So at any rate, let me see here. Actually, I'm not in San Francisco at the moment, just so you guys know. That's just a fancy filter. But anyway, good to be with you all. It's whenever I do something with the South DeKalb community, brings back a lot of memories. I became a Baha'i back in the Atlanta community back in 1992, and then subsequently had some of my formative years as a Baha'i in the South DeKalb community at the Unity Center, where we had a lot of great memories, a lot of fun, and I remember Sunday devotions and all of that. So it's kind of like coming home when I get to spend some time with you all. So thank you for having me. I had planned on doing a kind of a fireside talk for seekers, but I don't think we have anybody with us who is hearing about the Baha'i faith for the first time or the second time. I think everybody here is a Baha'i. So with that in mind, I'm not going to spend time kind of going into the verities of the faith, the specifics, the historical structure, all that stuff, because most of us, all of us should know that information. But perhaps we could shift, and maybe this could be an opportunity to engage into dialogue, which is what I love to do anyway, because I think that's where most of the learning takes place. And we can talk a little bit about some different aspects of the faith. If you have questions for me, I'm more than happy to share whatever perspective I can offer. Let me be clear, I'm not an authority on the Baha'i faith. I'm not a minister or a priest or an official mouthpiece for the faith. I am one person with my own particular perspective, which comes from my walk as a Baha'i for the last 20 some odd years. So I just want to be clear about that. And saying that my perspective can be flawed, and I fully embrace that. And it's constantly growing and developing as I read more, as I reflect more. I'm learning more. So what I share today is really a reflection of where I am at this moment in time, and my understanding of the writings as viewed through the lens of my own life. So with that in mind, I'll tell you just a little bit about what I do. Maybe that'll help frame some of the reflections or thoughts or questions. My life is in the arts. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, trained as a sculptor, but also work as an actor and a writer. And I do some singing here and there as well. And we know about the importance of the arts in the Baha'i faith. Writings tell us that music is a ladder to the soul. It can elevate human consciousness. It can distend the spirit, and it can provide powerful dimensions and insight into the human condition, but also beyond that into the transcendent nature of the soul and spiritual reality. I have been writing for several years for BahaiTeachings.org, so I've written on a number of topics, most of them surrounding the issue of race. A lot of my discourse deals, my engagement with public discourse deals with the issue of race. And as it is, as Baha'is and as we're working to alleviate and to address America's most vital and challenging issue, which according to The Guardian in his 1938 letter to the Baha'is of the West, was the issue of race, was and remains the issue of racism. So that's a little bit about what I do. So why don't we just have some conversation, friends? I'm looking forward to learning as well in this process. And if you, there's a few enough of us here that I think we can, if you want to ask a question or propose something, a topic for reflection, I think we can risk unmuting yourself and just sharing if that works for my host. And we can go from there. We've got, I have to go to a Kwanzaa celebration just after this. So I will, let's just jump in and spend the bulk of our time in dialogue and conversation. Pray that a blessed perfection that we all gain some deeper insight into the topic that we'll discuss. So there we go.
Definitely. That will definitely work. Does anyone want to start off?
Yes. Can I ask a question? I'm very fascinated by your background as like artist, writer, singer. I wonder, you talk about like how their faith kind of transcended the soul. Can you elaborate on that? Like how the faith impact your professional life or artistic life?
Sure. If you're not speaking, can you please mute yourself because we're getting some feedback.
Can you hear me? Did you hear me?
Yeah, no, I hear you fine. There's somebody else who's not muted and I'm getting some feedback. So if you're not speaking, if you could please mute yourself, that would be helpful for all of us. Let's see. Well, I got into the arts as a child. I started drawing when I was 4 years old. My mother noticed that I liked to draw. She had a deep artistic sensibility and used to take me to museums in New York City when we were living in New York, and that sort of thing. And I was unaware, even as a small child, that when I looked at a work of art, that if it touched something in me, I felt, I got tingly sensation. I felt larger in a way. I don't know how better to explain that. There was something really, art seemed to possess this magical quality, this ability to touch me in a deep way, and indeed other human beings. And I think that my sense is that is its inherent capacity, is that that's the inherent potentiality of creativity, be it in the performing arts or in the visual arts or in writing, that in some way the artist, the creator, is engaged in a process that in some sense is magical or alchemical, in a way that they have a way to touch the vibrational field of the soul and have this kind of reverberating echo in the human heart. That seems to be the raw material, the raw creative energy behind creativity. And the artist is nothing if not a minor creator in the universe of God's creation. So that distinction of being a creator and what that means, responsibility. So, with that in mind, it's like when I enter into the process of creativity, it's like, what am I choosing to send forth into the world? What is the message that I want to send forth? What are the subjects that I want to deal with? What is the vibrational energy that I want to be attuned to, so that whatever I create is hopefully a net gain for the forward progress of humanity. So that sense of responsibility and that inherent capacity of creativity, its ability to enlarge the human soul, which comes from the creator, which comes from God, right? Recognizing that as a creator, we have that potentiality, and then also the responsibility to use the gift wisely, to be thoughtful, intentional, to be humble, and to be open. Does that answer the question? I don't know.
Yes, I think you answered my question very well. Sounds like the spiritual life impact you in your kind of life goal to serve the humanity, and also impact you in your as a person, almost your maybe character or personality. Can I?
Yeah.
That way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Could I
think
jump
I'll
in?
say the last thing is that when you come in contact with the revelation, whatever the revelation is that you're coming in contact with, as Baha'is, we're talking about the latest revelation in God's unfolding message to humanity, that whatever your talent is, your capacity fuses with the revelation and that framework. So it helps to shape how you engage with the world through the use of your talent and your capacities. And so for me, that is certainly something that has had a profound impact and influence on the way that I negotiate space and my engagement with creativity and artistic expression.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Masood, could I jump in and ask you if you could elaborate a little more on your concept of using art responsibly? Because in my own work, I mean, I've often felt that that I don't have a lot of control over what I get, basically. To use the old terminology, the muse speaks and I'm simply the one who, picks it up, basically. But it has at times troubled me slightly because it seems like there is a potential for a lack of responsibility in this approach that I've been using. And I'd be curious to see or hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I don't take a dogmatic approach to what I create, in the sense that I'm not a person that goes through. I think about whatever the inspiration is, or what the question is that I'm interested in asking and posing. And then the next question that comes to me is, how can I truthfully engage around that question, which is rooted in reality, but also points to something larger than just that particular experience or that particular situation, that points to the expansive nature of the soul. So, for example, if I'm writing a piece about, I don't know, let's say drug use in the inner city, there is a certain kind of picture that I have to paint that will ground that story in reality. Part of that is, about the use of drugs. It's also the language that's used that's around drug culture. It's also some of the other things that human beings are struggling and wrestling with. And having gone through that, making use of all of that information, it helps to paint a picture, cracking the shell of that and pointing to something that is larger, that is, how can I use that information to point to some redemptive quality of the soul, something that is expansive, that provides this fundamental quality of faith and hope beyond just that experience. But in order to get to that, I have to be authentic and grounded in reality. Is that for me, that's where that allows the audience to enter into that space and feel that the work is being created in an honest way. So yeah, for me, that's the way I try to approach it. I used to be very concerned about, like, I don't know, in my writing, let's say, for example, using curse words or talking about, human sexuality or all of these things. But I think for me, what I've discovered is that if those experiences are essential to telling the story, then it's important for me to go there. And how can I go there responsibly? That is not gratuitous. That is not, overly sensationalized, but just helps to frame the story in a way that is truthful and honest. And then what is the lesson beyond that? What's the reality that we're pointing to beyond that? So for me, that's how I try to wrestle with that. Does that answer the question for you, brother?
It does. That was really helpful, actually. I love that way of approaching it. And your discussion of the drug thing reminded me of James Baldwin's great story, Sonny's Blues,
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Can I just say something, please?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I just say something? It's like, art and sciences are all crafts.
Mm-hmm.
Are like, are worship. A man who makes a piece of notepaper in the best of his ability, he, all his forces perfecting is giving praise to God.
Yep.
And all effort put forth by man from the fullest of his heart is worship.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you put forth whatever you're doing, art and craft or whatever, it is worship. As it say, consider work as worship.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
have always wondered, Masood, about writing or sharing rather my writing with the Baha'i community, because I try to write in a way that children will respond, and I'm talking about children from about 6 to 18. And it's not an attempt to make them Baha'is. It's an attempt to suggest to them that they live a certain way, that they are virtuous, and all of the things that Baha'u'llah has said we should be. But he isn't mentioned because I don't know. Abdul Baha is mentioned once in one of my books, and that is only as a footnote. But his writings are very much an inspiration to me. And when I read my books, I'm amazed, because you're right, but you don't know how it's all going to bundle out, you know? And like John said, it just sort of has a life of its own. And I have done, how many books have I done? Oh, about 9. And it's very hard to know how to communicate my art with others, other Baha'is. It's good with other people, but Baha'is, maybe I'm afraid of judgment from them, and they'll say, well, this is not a Baha'i book, you know. So anyway, but I'm so glad that you are so free to share your art with every one of us, even if there is a curse word used or whatever. And the knowledge there is that, oh, I have to say it this way. Because if I don't, I'm dishonest.
Thank you. No, it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge. I think there's a story that Ruhia Hanoun, who's the wife of the Guardian, she gave a public talk. She gave a talk somewhere to the Baha'is. I can't remember where. And she said, there are Baha'is that swear and there are Baha'is that don't swear. She said, I'm one of those Baha'is that swears. And not that anyway, she's the standard, because she's not. But there's a kind of, I don't know, there's kind of a refreshing honesty in that I find rather appealing. And not that everybody should go around swearing, because of course we should not. But, I think they're, artistry, particularly with creativity, I think the artist has to be thoughtful and considerate. Again, as we're moving through this adolescence of humanity and moving towards our humanity, what's the most effective way that I can touch the soul that is grounded in reality, but again, that is expansive and that feels redemptive in a way. And for me, I'm just so grateful that we have writers and creators who are intentional and thoughtful and who don't shy away from some of these difficult subjects, because it makes the work accessible. I can see myself in the work. I can see humanity in the work. Humanity in its adolescence, struggling, fumbling, making mistakes, sometimes worse than others, but hopefully moving in the direction towards our collective maturity. So, yeah.
Anyone else have a question? Well, I'd like to raise a topic then. Oh, go ahead.
I do have a question for Masood. I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Masood, I know you have done some mural that so appreciative in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have people that you train, people that understudy? Because you appear to be a very wonderful person in your art. So do you have other people who are learning from you?
I don't know. I suppose you have to ask them. I've spoken to classes and stuff like that, and I have, in what I'm doing at Emory University, I have students that I work with there. I've had engagement with young people through the Creatives Project here in Atlanta, which is a community-based arts outreach program. An initiative that really tries to engage young people. So I've done those types of things. I've also had a young man in the city of Atlanta about a year or two ago who just showed up and said that he wanted to work with me, and we worked together for a while. So I do those sorts of things, nothing formal. I mean, other than what I'm doing, the class that I teach at Emory University and those sorts of things. So it's for the most part, it's outside of the classroom, it's informal and kind of spontaneous, but I'm always open to talking to young people because I don't know, I just think young people are freaking amazing and I like to be around them as much as I possibly can. But my schedule is a little frenetic and kind of all over the place periodically. So it's difficult for me to commit blocks of time to doing that sort of thing that can be consistent. So, and I have to accept that. It's a disappointment. I wish I was able to do that more, but that's not the reality of where I am in terms of my career and some of the demands on scheduling and on time. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well, I definitely learned something from you today already. So there you go. Informal, but still very useful, right? So, any other questions? Well, I would like to raise another topic then. Obviously I would love to hear your thoughts on it, Masood, but I hope everyone else will feel free to chime in as well, because it's a very broad topic. And that is, it seems to me that we've done a pretty good job of integrating music into the faith and into our worship and our gatherings and things like that. But it also seems clear from the writings that isn't that's we should go further, right? That art in a much broader sense is meant to be part of our community life. Yeah. And I'm curious to hear, your thoughts, Masood, but also everyone else's, on how we might do that and what that might look like. What might a Baha'i community look like where the arts have truly become integrated into all parts of our community life?
Yeah, I mean, it really is the key to having a dynamic community life, whether we're talking about feast or devotional gatherings or reflections gatherings. I mean, the arts are so critical to cultivating and maintaining a sense of dynamism and energy. I find that communities that are really creative in terms of their incorporation of the arts tend to be very open and also growing communities, while those that are kind of stuck in what they think is a traditional framework of how the faith presents itself, and they don't have this kind of improvisational kind of approach, creative, expansive approach. Those communities are not growing. So I think, it's kind of, whether we're talking about, music, which, as you said, you pointed out, is since the World Congress, the World Congress really was a dynamic shift in the history of the Baha'i faith, because it's the first time that we had gospel music in the community. And there were a lot of people who did not want that to be the case. They had this traditional kind of view of what music in the faith should be. And of course, we're talking about a global Baha'i community with all of these different cultures. Our faith should look like that in all aspects: music, visual arts, whether we're talking about on the institutional level, everything. We should really be glorifying and celebrating in the diversity, the diverse power of our community, which still has yet to be fully unleashed. But yeah, I mean, I've been encouraged to see, like, for example, some movement forward. Green Acre is doing a lot with the visual arts. They're trying to mount sophisticated art shows where they're talking about, one that they have coming up is about Afrofuturism, which is a contemporary art movement in the African-American diasporic community. So they're doing things. There's been some really interesting pushes into theater, with one in particular is the play Henry Boxcar Brown, which was directed, I think, and produced under the auspices of a Baha'i in New York City, and it's now, being tapped to go for Broadway. They're in talks about a Broadway production. And writing. I mean, I think we got so many talented writers in the community. I work. I was able to work with some other really talented writers. We started a writers group recently, and just for support and encouragement and to share the work we're doing, and also the struggles of just being a writer, being at the desk, doing the work. So all of these things, I think the more we can unshackle ourselves, right, as Baha'is, increase our imaginative capacity to be creative, right, which is God-given. Encourage the artists to take risk, Now, don't be afraid of risk. As long as it's in the framework of the teachings, you can do whatever the heck you want to do. Feast does not have to look necessarily just a certain way. As long as you've got the social portion, you've got reports on the community, you read the writings, you say prayers, everything else you can pretty much do. So, I mean, within the framework of the faith. So there's all of these avenues of possibility and creativity that can be explored, that have yet to be leveraged by the community, and really unshackling ourselves and allow ourselves to think imaginatively, to take risk, to make mistakes, and then to get up and to try again. I think there's great potential there for us to expand the dynamic possibilities of our community life, and to also be even more appealing to the community at large. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned the appeal there, because we were talking, Barbara and I were talking before everyone got here about some of, the things that drew us into the faith early on. And I do remember very vividly, part of what got me was that the community I was living in, this was in Gainesville, Florida, actually 1994, a little bit after you, but not long. And it was that I was just really blown away to find an actual community. I mean, people who actually liked one another and did things together, but who was also very serious about spiritual life,
Yes.
and who talked about it and who worked on it. And I do think that, that kind of vibrant community life is, because that was very true of that community at that time. I haven't been there in years, but it was very, very vibrant at the time, and it was very attractive. So,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, artistic expression is, if people could just imagine for a moment a world without artistic expression, what would that be like? Be one boring, bland place. No music.
1984.
Yeah, who the heck would want to live in a place like that? So if we can't imagine a world like that, we should, in the context of the Baha'i faith, we should really want to just suffuse all the activities with creativity and artistic imagination. And you don't have to be an artist to have an imagination, creative imagination. There's some scientists have some of the greatest imaginative minds. They think creatively outside the box. As Einstein said, imagination is more powerful and more important than intelligence, in being able to check the right box or to score high on the test. So we really have to unlock, the creative capacity of our minds and our spirits. Pray to God to guide us in that, and just really unleash the creative power that's manifest within the Baha'i community, because there's so much here. And we really can have a dynamic impact, not only on our own community, but on the community at large, the more that we tap into that resource. So
I've often wondered what it would, I've imagined what it would be like if, when we have a new public project nowadays, for example, there will be safety engineers and all kinds of other people consulted. But what if we also made beauty part of the basic ingredient that went into every project we did?
Yeah.
Think of how that would transform our communities and our lived space. I mean, it'd be amazing.
Absolutely. They asked Abdul Baha once, what was the essence of the Baha'i faith? And he said encouragement. And we have some of our friends in the community, because of where they are, or maybe how they've been raised or whatever, who are so discouraging of ideas that are different than what they're accustomed to. And, again, as long as it's within the context of framework of the writings, as long as the person is motivated by the writings, as long as the person is trying to follow the guidance of the House of Justice, we have to allow for the possibility that we can be surprised in a really profound and beautiful way by something that someone will imagine and create within the context of the community, and see the possibility of growth in that. So, it's just that spirit of play, that spirit of experimentation, that spirit of improvisation, which is at the core of children, of the experience of children, the way that they engage in the world. So to bring some of that into the faith, where we're exploring, we're playing, we're trying new things, we're trying to extend the boundaries of what is possible in terms of the spiritual life of the community. And that's imaginative thinking. That's where I like to be. That to me is an antidote to boredom, and to stagnation. And unfortunately, we have, in many of our communities, young people aren't engaged. My question is, why are they not engaged? And I think one of the reasons is because they feel bored. I mean, let's just be honest. So how can we, again, when I came in the cause, it was 1992, Fruit of the Holy Year, I saw LA Workshop. Just blew my freaking mind. And they did a step. And I went to Morehouse College, and they were stepping. I used to see the Q Dogs and the Alphas, and they were stepping. But these guys were stepping with a spiritual purpose. And so, just blew my mind. And that was one artistic expression that just it worked on me, and there was all this kind of creativity going on at the time. So, and I know, part of it is the establishment of the institute process. And we kind of got away from doing some of the things that we were doing before, because everybody was focused on the institute process. My feeling is that we can even make the institute process dynamic. The institute process does not just have to be a bunch of people sitting around a table, reading the writings, answering questions. Let me think imaginatively about this. How can we use theater? Can we use writing? Can we use the visual arts? Can we use music? How can we make this a dynamic experience so people feel inspired and uplifted, and they can't wait to get out into the world and use what they've learned here to make a change in their community? So that's the challenge, I think, for all of us,
I love that.
Mhm.
Go ahead, BB.
I just want him to know I love that, because think about it, you sitting around the table just studying and answering questions, but when you're allowed to just move around, use your hands, use your feet, and just doing the actions of what we're learning, I think that would be a lot of fun. Learning, we will be learning with fun, yes, that's what the world needs. Thank you.
And I think that's as I read book 7, that's how I understand what part of what they're calling us to do. Is to give that very creative impetus to the institute process. So.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid of, the different musical forms that are out there, man. There's some spiritually based hip hop that will lift your soul. That doesn't involve, cussing or anything like that. but the music is amazing. You know, I mean, so there's some, you can find spiritual approaches to artistic forms in all those expressions: hip hop, rock music, country, whatever, jazz, whatever, you know, I mean, so, and young people, they respond. We really have to be tapped into what young people are really engaged in, and show them a way to explore that engagement in a way that is kind of rooted in spirituality and truth. You know, that it's not just about gratuitousness. It's not just about, you know, licentiousness and greed, but it's about something deeper. I mean, freaking Kendrick Lamar is a genius. The guy's a freaking lyrical genius. If you listen to some of his rhymes, I mean, amazing. And we have many people who are using their art form responsibly, with intentionality, to point to not only the issues that are afflicting the body politic, but are also trying to point to a way that we can make it better. So let's tap into those artists, man. If we could play some of that stuff in our community, you know, it'll work. You know.
Hi, Masood.
Hi.
This is Kiskadi. I'm so sorry. I had my hand up, but I wasn't sure if you were taking questions yet.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. But first of all, I think your work is amazing. I think you're a wonderful speaker. Fantastic. I'm an artist. I'm from the UK, but I pioneered to the US several years ago and set up a choir. Some of my choir members, I think one or two of them are in this chat actually, called Gospel of the New Era. And it was really just to bring people together and experience oneness through, you know, a grassroots kind of movement. And so that was one of the things that I felt was really important, because I was brought up in music. My late father was one of the founding developers of steel drums in Trinidad. I think there's a lady here from Guyana, if I'm not mistaken. I hear an accent there. But he was one of the pioneers of the steel drum instrument in Trinidad. And I was brought up in music really all my life, and played the steel drums, played the piano, sing. And one of the things that I noticed when I became a Baha'i, having discovered it in an encyclopedia, funnily enough, when I was a student, I just found that the music that I came across at that time was really kind of, and I don't mean it to be I don't mean to be rude, but it seemed really bland, really bland. And I was like, what is, you know, why is it all the same? And it's all really bland and folky, and I don't know. And so when I first started hearing that gospel stuff coming in, I was rejoiced. I was like, thank goodness. In my first album, I tried to integrate the steel pan as well, because I'd never heard that in any music. And the other thing is, I think going back to what you were saying earlier, it's really important just to be real. I don't actually see anything different between sort of Baha'i music and other music. To me, when I write music, I just write. And yes, sometimes I put the writings to music. Absolutely. I have many songs, but to me, it's really important just to integrate. It's all one. I don't really see a difference. I honestly, I think after 3 or 4 years of being a Baha'i and realizing that there's the Baha'i face and then there's the other face, I just thought, no, this is just not, doesn't work like that. It's just one. You're just one. And you've got to feel comfortable in your skin with who you are, whether, you know, there is no separation between Baha'i and your other life. You are just who you are. So if you can bring that into your music and into your writing, that's the important thing. And then, as you say, to integrate it into your community as a natural expression of who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I love everything you said. I think it's really powerful. I mean, truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues. And so, you know, it's how can I express this inner truth about my reality, my internal reality, and how can I, as an artist, how can I express that externally and give that gift to the world, you know, within the framework and the context of the teachings as a Baha'i.
Absolutely.
So it's there's you know, it's a universe of possibilities out here. We've only begun to what we have tapped into is, you know, Baha'u'llah says, is just a drop in the ocean. And there's so much out here for us to really to leverage and to bring a dynamic, an even more dynamic force to the community life, the Baha'i community life, and to the community at large. So it's exciting to hear you talk about these things, and I'm just, I just want to acknowledge and also appreciate the work that you're doing, because it's so important. It's so important.
Thank you so much. And likewise, you're doing amazing things. Love your monologues. Love your plays, your talks. Just fantastic.
Thank you very much. Well, pray for me. I'll pray for you, and we'll
thank you.
We'll keep
All
doing the work.
appreciated.
We'll keep doing the work. We'll keep doing the work.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think Candy had her hand up a minute ago.
Yes, I probably got time for two more, and then I'm gonna have to leave, unfortunately, friends.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
This is Frank and Candy Grant in Melbourne, Florida now, and we were in Jeanette in Kiskadey's community, and members of for years, of the Baha'i Choir of the New Era, and I have to say that Kiskadey is an amazing attraction for. Members of all communities, all faiths, all beliefs. Her music is a wonderful blend of Baha'i and non-Baha'i, and it sends a message of love. The members of the choir were just so enamored and looking forward to coming together every week. It was a major event, in our lives, and every week, we would come together and practice and sing and rehearse. And then afterwards, social, it was Baha'is and non-Baha'is. And Jeanette, you are absolutely a gift to creation. You are just absolutely spectacular and wonderful. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. There are people from all different cultures and all different, backgrounds and religions and races. And it was truly an example of what a Baha'i-inspired musical group, a group of any kind, can accomplish. We performed, in all different kinds of venues and occasions, and it's a wonderful example. And tune into Jeanette, to Jeanette's music, and it's online and it's on YouTube, and experience something really beautiful and wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. You too. Wonderful.
All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and wrap up so that Masood can be here for the conclusion of all of these things. So let's see. So before we wrap up, I just want to make a few announcements. Today's program has been recorded and posted to the YouTube channel entitled South DeKalb Baha'i Unity Center, where you can view it and invite others to view it as well. For members of the Baha'i faith, you are warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund, the Sandy Springs Baha'i Fund, and the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system at ocs.baha'i.us, or to mail a check to the Baha'i Unity Center at 2370 Wesley Chapel Road, Decatur, Georgia, 30035. We want to give our thanks to everyone who worked together to make today's program possible, our wonderful speaker, our volunteer readers, Barbara Hennix, without whom this just wouldn't happen, the spiritual assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb and Sandy Springs, and of course, to everyone who's here who has shared your morning with us. So I'm Stephen Boynton, and until next time, stay safe and well. And we'll be closing with a prayer for the departed. Would anyone care to be the reader for that one today? All right, then I guess I'll take that one on myself. O thou forgiving Lord, although some souls spend the days of their lives in ignorance and become estranged and contumacious, yet with one wave from the ocean of thy forgiveness, all those encompassed by sin will be set free. Whomsoever thou willest, thou makest a confidant, and whosoever is not the object of thy choice is accounted as a transgressor. Shouldst thou deal with us with thy justice, we are all naught but sinners, and deserving to be shut out from thee. But shouldst thou uphold mercy, every sinner would be made pure, and every stranger a friend. Bestow then thy forgiveness and pardon, and grant thy mercy unto us all. Thou art the forgiver, the light giver, and the omnipotent. Aloha, friends.
Aloha.
Love.
Thank you, friends.
And thank you for
Bye.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you,
So
guys.
lovely to
Bye-bye.
meet you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.